Alright, Photo Universe Part 3 here of our K-5 review. The thing we wanted to talk about now was when the camera starts up, it gives you a readout of your button controls, which is kind of interesting. I'm not sure how I could get back to that screen other than turning it on and off again. Let's see, I'm going to zoom in a little bit. That's focus. That's as far as I can zoom in. Alright, so let me see if I can bring this up a little bit. There you go. Okay, check out that screen. How cool is that? Alright, so there's all your information, and like I said, I got exposure compensation dialed in there. Look at that. I'm turning the front dial. The highlighted one shows you what your dials will do, and that little readout there shows you which dial it is. So this camera is like totally intuitive to use. The 4 along the bottom there, those are those buttons here. So if I want to go to white balance, I click on that. There's my white balance. I mean, I did not read the manual to this camera. I only went to the manual when I had an issue, like with something, and I needed to figure out how it worked. Okay, let's get out of that. Light press of the shutter button. Okay, check this out, all right? So your info button there, all right? Bang. Okay, guess what? I can change all that stuff, right? I just go to the highlighted one. See the green circle around it? There, JPEG, let's go there. Okay, we don't want JPEG, we want RAW DNG. Bingo, there it goes. Look at how easy that was to set. Okay. Now in JPEG, I don't want 2, I want 16. Why does that settable? I don't know. I'm in RAW, so it doesn't really matter. But what if I push the button in the front and switch back and forth between RAW and JPEG, which I could do really fast. Okay, let's turn shake reduction off, which is a good thing to have a real quick access to that, because shake reduction is built in the camera. It's not built in the lens. So every lens you put on this camera has shake reduction. I mean, how cool is that? Alright, the ones that are dark, those are ones I could set if I had them turned on, but I have them turned off. This camera will do automatic aberration control and some other controls, but you know what? If you have that set, it takes a long time to process your RAWs. You're better off just processing all that stuff not in camera but in your RAW converter, okay? Because otherwise it slows the camera down. I mean, good idea if you need it. It's nice to have the option, but I would leave it turned off. Some people complain this camera is slow. Well, they've got that stuff turned on. So turn that stuff off in the menus. You can turn it on if you need it. Okay, so all right, push the info button again. There's our artificial horizon. Check that out. It's like a cockpit. That's groovy. That gets addictive. When I was shooting landscapes, man, I couldn't take a picture without looking at the artificial horizon. And you can turn the screen off. So now you're just shooting like a normal camera through the viewfinder if you want to be in stealth mode. You can, okay, on the top LCD, that lights up all the time. You have to go into the menu to turn off that screen if you want to be in stealth mode. Okay, that's kind of goofy. I don't know. In Nikon, you go there and you turn your light on, and you go there and you turn the light off. In Pentax, that's your depth of field preview. It stops your lens down so you can see your depth of field. I don't know. I'm used to a dedicated light button that I never use. So having the light on all the time is really cool at night because you need it. Turning it off to save battery power, you don't really save that much battery power, maybe 2 shots out of 600. That's ridiculous. So, you know, having the light on all the time is not a big deal, really. And they do give you the option to turn it off if you don't want it on. Let's say you're in a war zone or something. You don't want your light on, or you want to be in stealth mode. So, yeah, you know, I'm learning to live with that. I have it turned off right now. I'm going to turn it back on. Having the light on all the time for the LCD is no big deal. And you have the option to turn it on and off in the menu. So there is that. Your basic controls. So how do you select your, let's put the deal back on there. There's our screen. This is in select mode. Some people have complained you push this in. See that light up there? Now I can pick my focus point. Okay. If I want to get back to the other deal, I push that in until that goes away, and now I'm back to the other deal. Okay. So I got the lens cap on, that's why everything's blinking. So yeah, this is a toggle switch when you have a focus point selection set. So yeah. So You can set it to all mode and it'll just pick what it wants to focus at. There we go. Alright, so that's how that works. It's a good implementation. Some people have complained about the toggle switch thing, that it takes a second to toggle back and forth. I don't see the problem. It hasn't been a problem for me. I mean, maybe if I'm shooting Indy cars or something. I don't know. Doesn't seem to be an issue in practice. Some more buttons, play, lock. It's got, I mean, you know, it's all the buttons you'd expect it to have. They all work really well. I mean, the interface is seamless. You don't need a manual for this camera. I mean, you do when you want to set some of the really esoteric stuff, but in general, basically this camera is pretty straightforward. I mean, it's really amazing how Pentax is able to make a camera that a beginner can feel comfortable with, but a professional can just zip a line along with and use for anything he wants to use it for. Pentax has really got the interface down. I mean, photography is fiddly. It is. If you know what you're doing and you want to set your settings, you're going to be fiddling with your camera a lot. Well, any impediment to your fiddling is bad. And this Pentax is just, it's the least fiddly DSLR I've ever had. I mean, let's roll in our MX again, okay? Photography's fiddly. Well, you know, the less buttons you got, the less fiddly it is. Shutter speeds and apertures, you know. Well, in the Pentax, you got your shutter speeds and your apertures. And more importantly, like, this is analog. There's your aperture readout. Well, guess what? There's your shutter speed readout, right? Okay, and you can see it all, and you can see your choices. Well, you know what? When you go digital, that's what this screen's all about, right? Okay, let's go to manual mode. There we go. Let's go to manual mode, right? Come on, Lumix, focus. Yeah, the Lumix isn't focusing. So in manual mode, picked it up. There it goes. Look at that readout, okay? So now we see our shutter speeds. We can change them up there. We can see our apertures here. And we know in our readout, going the wrong way. There you go. Well, that makes our life easier. The readout doesn't confuse us. It makes our life easier. It's a simple readout. And that's what's important, so you know where you are. With the MX film camera, you knew where you were because the readouts were analog. Well, your digital readout is really important. And that's what Pentax has really succeeded well in giving you the information you need. And all that information is replicated in the 100% coverage viewfinder, which is under there. Nice little pop-up flash. Also, Pentax has kind of protected the lip of that flash, so you're not going to hit it on something and bust your flash off when it's closed. It's like it's got a protected edge there, which is kind of cool. A friend of mine has a D90, actually keeps a rubber band across the top because it kind of sticks out and he's caught the flash on stuff. So that's a good implementation. The body is all magnesium and the under chassis is stainless steel. It's all weather sealed. You know, I don't know if I'm going to go to part 4, but there's the Pentax K-5. If I think anything else, I'll put it in an addendum. So there we are, Pentax K-5 user impressions. Photo Universe, thanks.